What's up, guys? This is Carson Thinks Ball, my second channel where everything is unedited and I give my post-game reactions. We just watched the Boston Celtics beat the Orlando Magic 103 to 86, and there's a lot we can take away from this game. Number one, hustle. This game was just a real hustle versus talent thing. It was clear from the beginning of the game that Boston had the better team. They had more talent, they had better shooters, they had better defenders. But the one thing that Orlando had over Boston, especially in that first half, was hustle. There's just a lot of guys trying really hard. Wendell Carter Jr., big takeaway for him. He didn't shoot the ball super well. He was 2 for 6. He only had 4 points. He had 13 rebounds, 3 of those being offensive. Those were pretty big rebounds. The Orlando Magic had a great first half rebounding the basketball. Overall in the game, they had 13 offensive rebounds to the Boston Celtics 9. I'm not sure what the first half stats were for offensive rebounding, but I imagine most of those came in that first half. Wendell Carter Jr. being a big proprietor of that. A lot of other guys, Paolo Banchero had some good rebounds. Jonathan Isaac, of course. Anthony Black, he had 3 offensive rebounds. He only had 4 rebounds in total, and 3 of those were offensive. A lot of hustlers out there, super physical basketball being played by the Magic. In the first half, the Celtics really couldn't compete. By the end of the first half, I think it was Magic 49, Celtics 48. The Magic did a lot of out hustling and just fighting. And once that second half came around, you could see the Celtics kind of realizing it's playoffs. We should probably start, hustling a little bit more. And it definitely paid off. Derek White, he went nuclear in this game. He went 7 for 12 from 3, 10 from 18 from the floor overall. That's a 77% true shooting percentage. He had 30 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. One of those blocks was like a chase down. Let me see who that was on. Yeah, he had like a chase down block on Paolo Banchero, which was super nuts. He had really good defense. Peyton Pritchard, he also had a really good game. He had 19 points, 3 assists, and a steal. He went 4 for 6 from 3, 6 for 8 from the field. A true shooting percentage of 101. So he was doing a lot of good stuff, especially off the bench. Jaylen Brown, not the best performance in the world, only 16 points on 6 for 14 shooting. All year, Jaylen Brown has not been Jaylen Brown, the one that we know, after that Finals MVP. But I'm imagining he'll get it together. Drew Holiday, huge third quarter. He had a bunch of his shots. I'm pretty sure he hit all of his shots in that third quarter. Porzingis, not the best game from him. He went 1 for 8. He couldn't really take advantage of his mismatches that well. He had 4 steals. He had a block. Great defense from Porzingis, but when he got matched on to smaller guards, he just didn't play it that well. On the Magic side of the ball, highlighting the player specifically, Franz Wagner, he had a polarizing game. He had buckets that were like, wow, this guy really is an all-star. That was a tough bucket. Thank God this team has him. But then on the next possession, he'd throw the ball to the Celtics and just give it to him. Franz Wagner was not the best decision maker this game. He made a lot of dumb decisions. He turned the ball over 5 times. Paolo Banchero also turned the ball over 4 times. But the difference was Paolo had the ball in his hands a lot more, and Paolo was making a lot more good things happen on offense. Speaking of, Paolo had 36 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists. In that first half, he had 19 points. Paolo shot the ball pretty well. He played pretty well. His defense was good. It was physical like everybody else on the Magic. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he's had a down year shooting. He hasn't been what he was on the Nuggets, but he had a pretty solid game. He had 2 threes. He had 3 steals. He was not that bad. Anthony Black, the stat sheet doesn't show it. 3 points, 4 rebounds, 1 block, 1 for 4 shooting. But I promise he had a very positive impact. His defense was pretty good. The one thing I can say about the Magic is that they were, like I mentioned, super physical. I think Boston will eventually win the series pretty convincingly. Maybe 4 games, maybe 5. But the thing is with the Magic, every one of those 4 games or every one of those 5 games is going to be war. I think, as a Cavs fan, I'm very thankful that the Magic aren't the team we want to see in the first round. And that may come back to bite me because we're playing the Heat, and the Heat have done dark magic, like out of nowhere runs. But with the Magic, it feels like you can beat them in 4 games, and then they got to go into the next series, and you're all beat up. Because you had guys, punching you. You might have broken 14 ribs because they were just playing so physical with you. There was a point where Peyton Pritchard was trying to get around a screen, and it was either Caleb Houston, Corey Joseph, one of their smaller guards on the Magic. He was getting around the screen, and of course he kneed him. He kneed him right in the thigh, and Peyton's like down on the ground. And they didn't call it a foul because it's just him hustling around the screen. But now Peyton's down for like a whole possession because he's like, ow, damn it, my thigh. And then he finally gets the ball back in his hands, and he takes a 3 in the air balls because he's getting beat up. The whole team was beating people up, especially the guy I already mentioned, Wendell Carter Jr. with his 13 rebounds. He was beating people up for those rebounds, especially in the first half. He was just fighting. It was a real battle. I'm talking a lot about the first half because that's when it was really a game. Obviously the Magic were leading by 1, but in that third quarter, and I guess fourth quarter too, but specifically in that third quarter, the Celtics won 30 points to 18 points. So it was clear they came out of the locker room and they realized we're not playing physical enough to beat this team. So the Celtics started fighting back, throwing some punches. They weren't punching anybody, but you know what I mean. And I'm not a super big Paolo fan. I think he's a very smooth player. I love his jumper. I love how physical he can get. He was really utilizing some of those mismatches they were giving him. Like he'd be on Derek White and he'd back him down. Derek White played great defense, but Paolo's a lot bigger. But my problem with Paolo has remained the same throughout his entire career. Whenever he's in the offense and involved, it feels like the ball isn't moving. Obviously, Paolo's not a bad playmaker by any means, but the difference between him and Franz when they're being utilized is Franz is moving the ball around, he's rotating, he's a big off-ball mover. Paolo doesn't move off the ball. Paolo, almost all his possessions, whether they ended in an assist or a point or a missed bucket, it's always an ISO every single time. It feels like he's either backing somebody down, which is usually optimal because he has a mismatch, or he's just pulling up over somebody. And Paolo had a great game, don't get me wrong. 36 points, but I can't see that sustained over a 4-game series, especially against the Celtics, who have great defense. I think Paolo's going to have a stinker game one of these coming games, and obviously, I hope that doesn't happen. I don't hate any basketball players, but I want to see him, because he's an incredible player, he's great, but I want to see him move more. I want to see him move off ball. I want to see him making more plays. Obviously, his playmaking wasn't terrible today. He had 4 assists, but he also had 4 turnovers. It wasn't as bad as Wagner's because he was not making good decisions. But Paolo is such a talented player. He's smart. Don't get me wrong. He's a very smart player. He's a very talented player, physically gifted. I just wish in the flow of the offense, he did more in a way that wasn't just him isoing. I think if you were the Knicks or the Pistons, and basically whoever wins that series between those two, most likely the Knicks, but I hope the Pistons, whoever wins that, obviously he's terrified of the Celtics. Obviously the Knicks don't have a good track record against the Celtics. They're 0-3, 0-4. I think it's 0-4 this year against the Celtics. But you know that the Celtics are going to come out of this series beat up. Peyton Pritchard's getting kneed in the thigh. Tatum might have just hurt his wrist in this game. I don't know if that was too serious or not. He played the rest of the game. But you know that the team you're about to face is knocked down a peg because they just got punched. They have 14 broken ribs. They got a broken ankle. They got a broken wrist. Somebody's throat got slit because Wendell Carter Jr. brought a knife. The Magic, they're such a physical team that's really just going to beat you up. I think the Celtics take this series in 5 games, maybe 6. But the Magic are making it fun. Obviously, when you look at the score, it wasn't close, but it still felt like Orlando had something going. At the end of that second quarter, they had the really nice run. They came back to lead going into the half, and then obviously they started to lose it in the second half, but they still made some runs, and there were still some points in that game where you're like, damn, this team's actually dangerous. Especially Paolo, he was hitting some pretty impressive shots down there. For Boston, this is a super convincing win. You're down at the half, and Tatum didn't even have a super good game. Tatum, 14 rebounds. He was hustling. He had great defense. 17 points. He was 8 for 22. He wasn't shooting the ball real well. But Tatum's one of those guys who I think is super overhated, like very overhated. I think even if he's not impacting the game with his scoring, he's going to impact it every other way somebody can impact a basketball game. It's just his size, his playmaking. He's become a very good playmaker, like an extremely good playmaker. Obviously, you look at the box score, 4 assists. That's not incredible, but I promise Jason Tatum has been a great playmaker this year. I think it's so obvious Boston is just the better team, all around. Boston's running like a 9-deep rotation, and you feel like all those guys can start on the Magic team. Obviously, that's not true. I don't think Luke Cornett would start, but he would have pretty good rotational minutes. And the Magic, they ran like a 10-man rotation this game. Cole Anthony didn't get much run, neither did like Caleb Houston. But they were just rotating their guards kind of the whole game. But with the Magic, it's like when you bring your guys off the bench, they're just not as talented as the Celtics bench. Obviously, that comes with Orlando missing guys like Jalen Suggs, who I think would be huge in this series, as well as Mo Wagner. But it's just so obvious that Orlando, talent-wise, just can't match up. So I think the one thing they just have to keep leaning into is their physicality and just hope and pray that Boston doesn't. Because even if Boston's giving 100%, I think the Magic will give 110%. That's just the kind of guys they got on their team. Jamal Mosley's been a pretty good coach this year. Even with the injuries, the Magic still managed to stay afloat. I think without injuries this year, the Magic are not a play-in team, a much better team. I think their offense, again, has to utilize Paolo more moving. But, you take some, you lose some, because he still had a great game. He still impacted this game. I think going forward, I think, like I mentioned, the Celtics are super confident. I think hopefully Joe Mazzulla can do his insane, witchcraft and get these guys actually more hyped for the next game. But I mean, they turned it up at halftime. I imagine they're going to turn it up for the rest of the season. All in all, I still think Celtics in 5. I think the Magic will take a game. They're too dog to not take a game in this series. I think they wouldn't leave getting swept. But if it happened, I wouldn't be super surprised. But again, the Celtics are getting beat up, and I think it's going to hurt a lot going into the next series and maybe even the conference finals because the Magic are just so physical. I think the Celtics, we've seen what they did last year. They know how to handle these situations. I don't imagine it's going to affect them too much. But all in all, that was a fun game. Looking at the final score, it doesn't look like it was that close, but I promise that was still a fun game regardless. And those are my takeaways from this game. So I hope you subscribe. I hope you like the video. I hope you check out my main channel where I actually edit stuff and maybe make better content and I don't just ramble. And I hope you enjoy these, and I hope you look forward to more videos throughout the playoffs because I'm hopefully going to keep doing those. Peace.